The biggest thing our campsite is missing is the perfect spot for morning coffee and evening dinners. So we're building a deck right outside our Airstream. Today we're really excited to partner with Simpson Strong-Tie to build a structurally strong, good-looking, and lasting portable deck. Our campground has pretty specific rules about how we can build the deck, and the main thing is it needs to be able to be easily removed at the end of the season.
Our fully assembled deck cannot be longer than our Airstream.
So we're gonna build two 6x8 foot decks,
And zip them together.
and that should be easy enough to put onto a truck or a trailer to remove at the end of the season. We've never built a deck before, so how hard could it be? Let's go figure it out. Part of figuring it out meant coming up with a plan ahead of time, doing research, and using the Simpson Strong-Tie Deck Planner, which I found super helpful when it came to figuring out what kind of fasteners and hardware I needed. All right,
I think we want it around the door.
how about we do a foot from the door?
The deck's gonna end right here.
But just like everyone who's ever done a project knows, plans are only good right up until they aren't. Since this deck has to be temporary, we can't pour concrete deck footers like a normal deck would have. This is going to be a freestanding deck, and we're going to use these concrete blocks for supports. It may not look like it, but our campsite ground is very uneven and full of gravel, so leveling it out is going to be our first challenge. Now that we have our blocks roughly laid out, we're going to have deck 1 right here, which is going to be 8 feet by 6 feet, and deck 2 right here, which is also 8 feet by 6 feet. We chose 6 by 8 foot deck sections because these should fit in the back of the truck when it's time to move, or we can rent a trailer at the end of the season. And the next part of figuring things out was to line up and level out the rim joists, which are the outer part of the deck frame. Since we're making two 6-foot sections, we need to actually account for the thickness of the boards, which is 1.5 inches, so I'm going to cut them to 69 inches. After I cut the rim joists, we quickly realized that they weren't lining up properly because of the deck blocks. Alright, since these blocks are brand new, I guess there's leftover cement from the molding. Now that we knocked all that stuff loose, the wood boards should sit in it better. So now that the deck blocks are ready for us, we're going to put the boards back on and kind of just figure it out as we go. We were quickly realizing that the original plan is kind of out the window and we're going to have to make it up as we go, which is pretty much on brand for any project we've ever done. Megan and I have done some pretty cool projects together in the past, like restoring this 1973 Airstream, which is our full-time home for almost 2 years now. And during that Airstream restoration is actually the first time that we used Simpson Strong-Tie products. We used the Set XP epoxy to make our subfloor extra strong.
Okay, we've got all of our framing pieces for the main frame done. Now we're going to level out because as you can see, we're kind of on a slope. So we've got these pavers right here that we're going to build up the backside, and then hopefully we can get a level deck. Since we're at a seasonal campground and this needs to be a temporary deck, we can't build footers and dig down into the earth and pour cement and all that stuff. We gotta just do it ground level. We started with one corner and leveled it front to back and then worked our way down the Airstream. In hindsight, if we had removed the gravel from where the blocks are and replaced the gravel with sand, I think that would have made it easier to level out versus pushing around rocks. Oh, perfect.
On the money, baby. Meghan and Matt, professional deck builders. Since we're building two completely separate frames, we needed to make sure that they're both level and parallel to each other. If they're not, it's going to cause all sorts of weird warping and just probably won't look good. But we also have to be realistic with our time and expertise because we could spend forever trying to get it perfect, but since it's going to be temporary, in a few months we're going to have to move this anyways, so some things are going to have to be just good enough. Level, 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 level.
Woo!
Nice job, Meg. Megan's crushing it. She had the idea of using the pavers. I was gonna cut posts, but this is definitely way easier and less mathing, and probably sturdier. I kicked my shin. Ugh, why isn't this going in? Ow. There we go. Oh, that was the shin. But I'm really strong and it doesn't hurt
Nice.
that much. We were feeling pretty good about this once we got the first frame leveled, and now it's time to work on the second one, which was a little bit more difficult because the ground drops off pretty significantly here. And you know, here's some general advice that everybody should probably listen to, including myself. Should probably stretch before doing a job like this. This frame's as square as it's gonna get for now until we start putting things together. Then I think we can make some micro adjustments when we start screwing in the joists. Both decks are parallel to each other. We give a 6-inch overhang on the front so we can attach a faceboard in front. We're gonna try to do a picture frame, but it really kind of depends how things progress. Our next step is to just lay out the deck boards to A, make sure that we have enough, and B, make sure that we have enough to do the picture frame. Because if we don't have enough for the picture frame, we're just gonna have to do like a regular style deck. All right, let's get to moving stuff.
We added a paver here. We have 3 pavers in the back over here, so it slopes down a little bit 3 pavers, 2 pavers, 2 pavers, 2 pavers, and then 1 paver, no pavers up there.
We're gonna lay out the decking boards just to get a little visualization going, and then we're gonna start working on the joists.
It seems a little counterintuitive to bring all of the deck boards over here to lay them out before we even start the joists. We know that if we can lay things out and see it as a visual, things will go a lot smoother.
Since our plan changed not only once at the store, but again once when we started building, we wanted to make sure that we had enough deck boards to fully complete the job without having to go to the store again. Because that would mean more time spent, more money spent, and we probably wouldn't be able to finish this in a day.
I think this is the perfect size deck for us. We could do yoga, we could put our chairs over here, have some plants on the edge. Yeah, we were originally going to do 3, but we just decided on 2, and I feel like it's big enough.
Yeah, 3 would have been too many.
Yeah, I think it looks fabulous. I'm so excited to hang out on here.
All right, here we go. This is pretty much what it's gonna look like, but just more finished and better. Since we're like 4 deck boards short for doing a complete picture frame, what we're gonna do is figure it out as we go, and you're gonna see it. Because we have a plan, but if I tell you the plan now and we do something different, you're gonna be like, what the heck? The next thing I need to do is make sure that every single corner is square. I could use my little square here, which looks pretty close, but I wanna make sure we're more accurate. So I'm gonna try the 3-4-5 method, where we use some math to measure 3 feet, 4 feet, and then 5 feet in between the marks. A little geometry for you. A little algebra, a little Pythagorean theorem. So 3 feet, 4 feet, and then between the marks, it's 5 feet. Oh, right on the money, baby. Nice and square. All right, so now I'm just gonna make sure all the other corners are square and then start zipping them together. And now I'm gonna be using these Simpson Strong-Tie 90-degree connectors. These are black powder coated. They look super nice. These are corrosion resistant. They're structurally sound, even for a non-permanent structure like this one. These drive so nicely. And ain't going nowhere. And of course, I'm not the only one building this deck.
These Simpson Strong-Tie angles make it so easy. Plus, it just looks gorgeous.
So now that deck 1 and deck 2 are both done, we now need to connect them together. To do so, we're going to attach 4 different pieces in the middle, and we're going to use 4 90-degree angle brackets and 4 joist hangers to connect them all together. When the time comes to separate the frames, all we'll have to do is take apart this middle section. All right, look at it. So check it out, babe. We now officially have 1 framed deck.
Wow.
And my 175 pounds-ish, pure American muscle, is ready to eat some yummy food. It's not sagging or bouncing at all. Now that we have 1 giant square level deck, it's time to put in the joists. And this is a little trick I learned from the internet. Your tape measure will mark out every 16 inches with little red. So you don't need to do math. So let's mark this out and get to cut. I don't make the rules, I just sometimes follow them, and for this rule, we have to mark out 16 inches at the center of the board for the joists. These joists will support the deck boards, so it's important that they're evenly spaced. After we conducted a very professional and very important self-inspection, making sure that the deck was sturdy, it was time to cut the joists. I'm using 2x6s for all the wood, which should be sturdy enough for this size deck, but also not too heavy where it's going to be impossible to move in the future. Alright, all the joists are now cut. These are the pieces that will support the rest of all the deck boards. We might have to add a couple little pieces in between them, but we'll see how that goes once they're in. The next step is to secure all the joists with the joist hangers. These are the Simpson Strong-Tie joist hangers. These are good for 2x6s and 2x8s. They got that nice powder-coated black finish, nice and corrosion resistant. They'll last a long time. Let's get these installed.
Looks like you're handing out party favors.
Feels like I'm handing out party favors. You get a joist hanger. You get a joist hanger. Everybody gets a joist hanger. Honestly, this has been a much longer day than I originally thought. I spent so much time planning this thing. I even used the Simpson Strong-Tie Deck Planner, and it turns out it's all a little bit different when you can't properly set the posts to begin with. We spent a ton of time and energy trying to like get everything level and square, and I think that kind of took a lot out of me. I feel like we've got a race against time. It's about 5:30 right now, and I really want to see if we can get this done before the sun goes down, because then we're done. We don't have to do this tomorrow. Feeling optimistic. Let's get after it. If you're doing this project yourself and using these exact joist hangers, they have 4 holes that you need to use. You'll need 2 different types of screws for this. You'll need the 9 by 1 1/4 inch screws and the 9 by 2 1/2 inch screws, assuming you're using 1 1/2 inch material like these 2x6s. These joist hangers are good for the 2x6s and the 2x8s. If you got a different size joist, you're gonna need to change your hanger accordingly. These 4 outside holes get the 1 1/2 inch screws, and that goes directly into the sides of the boards. These 4 inside screws get the 2 1/2 inch screws, and those screw into this board and also into this board. The joist hanger holds the deck joist to the rim joist. If I got those wrong, oops, sorry. I've never built a deck before, and I don't know every single part of the deck, other than we're gonna build one, and it's looking great so far. We're gonna pinch this around the 2x6. We're gonna secure these top 2 on both sides, so that way it kind of holds it in place. And then we'll screw in all 4, and then we'll go in for the sides here. I don't know where my hammer is.
Oh.
All right, I'm square. You square? Nice.
I'm square.
You look nice and square, baby girl. Bear. Guys, there's a bear here. Hello, Mr. Bear. Oh, you're a big boy. Go away. Thank you. Part of the daily activities here are bear sightings. I usually just try to like let them know that we're here and we're loud and we're annoying, so that way they don't come here, but they just love the trash can, and there's tons of campers here, so they love their trash too.
They don't bother us.
What?
They don't bother us.
No. They're cute. I
They're
think
so
fun.
cute. They need to be less cute.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Really wish we could have put it
Alright, all of the joists are now roughly hanging. We figured we'd get them supported, and then each of us can just go through and blast through and fasten the rest, so we'll save a ton of time by doing that. This assembly line style ended up being a great call. Megan screwed in the flat holes, and I followed behind her with the angled ones. Now at this point, it was looking like we were getting really close to finishing the entire deck in just one day. Alright, look how good this looks. And it's so sturdy. Woohoo! Wee! And these just look so nice. If this was like the bottom of your deck and you were looking up at it, it would look so nice. People would say, man, you made a good choice.
They look fresh.
They look so fresh. All right, the next thing we have to do now that everything's on and properly tested.
How many of these do we need?
I don't know if we need any. I feel like once it's secure, it's in. So what Megan's asking about is like the extra blocking in between the joists. But like there is no flex. I don't feel anything when I'm bouncing on this. All right, for our next adventure of this deck project, we are going to be putting on this front board here. I don't know if it's technically a fascia board, but this is going to act as our fascia board. When we laid out all of our deck boards earlier, we realized we're like 2 boards short for the entire thing. And rather than going to the store, which would add on another day of this project, we're going to use extra 2x6 material to just clean up this front shot. And then we're going to tie it all together, slap our deck boards on, and then we're done.
Wow, we're really building a deck in a day. No experience. I feel like these brackets definitely make everything so much easier.
I think so.
Simpson Strong-Tie.
There comes a time in every DIY project where you have to just improvise, and this is one of the many times we've had to just figure it out on the fly. Now we would have actually used the same deck boards that we're going to do for this, however we didn't have enough. So we're going to use this and it's going to look fine. And no one's going to know except you guys. About a gap's length.
Okay, stop.
Good. Right now we're putting on our front board before we put on the deck boards. And we're going to be using the flat strap to hold it in with some big structural screws. And then we're also going to be using some nice decorative brackets on the corners. And just to hold everything in place real quick, I'm just going to use a couple deck screws to just kind of hold it in place more than the clamps. To connect this faceboard together, I'm using this flat strap, 3.5-inch structural screws, and these hex head washers. This is going to be structural and hold it together, but it's also removable, so it shouldn't be too difficult to take it apart when we're ready to move. We had to design this entire deck with the intention to be able to remove it in a few months. Nice.
That's so cool.
And doesn't it look like super nice? So it looks good and it's structural. This looks so good.
Wow.
All right, this looks so good. Now it's time to put on the corners. So we're using these hex head washers, which basically turn the structural screws and make them look like a bolt, which is a super cool look. These are the 2-inch ones. These are some beefy screws. But I'm gonna just slap these on like so. Just blasting something important. Sweet. All right. Wow. I gotta take a step back and look at that one. Yeesh. Wow. That looks so good. I'm so happy. Alrighty guys. We're officially done with the structural part of this deck. Now it's time to install the deck boards. Not bad for having no idea what we did when we started.
It's also 7:19. It's officially 1 hour until the sun sets. What we learned from doing the mock layout is that we need one in the middle here. That way we'll only have a little overhang on either side. We were originally going to do split 2 in the middle, but that's why you do the mock layout.
We screwed in the first board on the dead center of the deck using the Simpson Strong-Tie Deck screws. When it comes time to move the deck at the end of the season, we're just going to have to remove 3 of the center deck boards in order to separate the 2 decks for transportation. These screws are structural, but they're also removable, which is why this deck is actually going to be portable. Instead of if we used nails, we'd have to tear apart all of them or hack up everything, and then we wouldn't really be able to reuse this deck in the future. Alright, this is looking fresh.
We're going to use this blue chalk to make a straight line so that our deck screws can go in a nice straight line.
We're using a temporary blue chalk line to mark a straight line so that we can be sure that the deck screws actually hit the joist underneath and that it also looks nice and uniform from the top. Alright, it's time to install the deck boards. We're going to be using the Simpson Strong-Tie stainless steel fasteners. These aren't part of the Outdoor Essentials collection, but they are from Simpson Strong-Tie, and they are corrosion resistant. What's nice about these is that it comes with all of the necessary bits for the fastener. As the sun started to set, we were definitely racing against the clock, but we decided that we wanted to make sure that we could actually do this next part in the daylight, where we could actually see what we're doing. So we just screwed as many screws as we possibly could, and we'll pick this up again in the morning. In the morning, I got to enjoy the official first cup of coffee on our new deck while I figured out how to finish things up. And as the caffeine settled in, inspiration struck. I have a plan. The deck was looking really good as it is, and as much as I originally wanted to do the picture frame, we didn't have enough boards, didn't really want to go to the store, and the forecast also called for heavy rains. We decided that we were at a great stopping point for our very first deck, so it's time to just secure the rest of the boards and then decorate our new deck. But first, proper PPE. Alright, let's do this. Picture frame is just not really working out the way that I wanted to. I would have had to have planned a little bit differently. But, you know, first deck building problems. And honestly, learned a lot. I still think it looks really good. you think?
Yeah, I think we did a really good job.
Yeah, I think this looks sweet.
Wow.
Not bad for a first deck, huh?
I'm so excited to have a deck. I know Matt really wanted that picture frame look, but I truthfully love the way it looks as is. I don't mind seeing all of the end grain on the front, and I think what we would do differently is make sure we check for the bowing. This piece is just bowed, like curved like this, which makes like a big gap in one of the spaces. We wanted it really tight. Next time I would like double check this and then like put it towards the end. I think there's only one other spot where we feel like there's too much of a gap.
Yeah, it's over here.
Which is over here. Yeah. Nothing we really want to do about it right now, but I'm just excited to enjoy this deck. I'm gonna hit it with a hose so that we can wash off all of this blue chalk, and then we're gonna dress up the deck.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
That looks nice. Here we are, guys. This is our completed deck.
It's perfect.
You can look out at our campsite, at the
love it.
woods. Now that the deck's complete, I can't think of a better way than to just sit back and relax on it. So we're gonna attach the Simpson Strong-Tie bottle opener and enjoy a bevy on our new deck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. As DIYers, we're constantly learning and trying new things, and we're grateful for Simpson Strong-Tie, who believe that two total deck noobs could build a deck in just a day. Ever since we started dating over 8 years ago, we pursued a goal we called deck time. The goal is simple. We want to spend time together on our own deck and on our own property. The small portable deck at our campsite is our first real feeling of what our future will look like, and we're stoked for it. And now that we've got the deck thanks to Simpson Strong-Tie, we have our perfect spot to enjoy for the rest of the season while we continue to save for our own house. Overall, this project took us about 9 hours from start to finish, and we definitely could have finished in one day had we started earlier on day one. And if you're thinking of starting your own outdoor deck or DIY project, we definitely recommend using Simpson Strong-Tie's Outdoor Essentials collection. We'll link everything that we used down below.